Another attorney commercial with big promises, millions of dollars, practicing law 24 hours a day, blah, blah, blah. Let's get rid of the smoke and mirrors. None of that really matters. What does matter? Having a medical doctor as your attorney. That matters.
Weather crew, good afternoon to you. It is a very, very windy day in southern Colorado, and it depends where you are, of course. I do have somebody that has joined the live stream, so hold on, I'll get to you in a second. I want to start off with the current wind speeds in terms of gusts across the area on this map here. 68 miles per hour in Colorado Springs right now, and that is obviously very, very strong, perhaps damaging wind in some areas. You see 56 for Lamar, 58 for Springfield, Monarch Pass, we're over 70 miles per hour right now, but some places aren't doing too bad here. So let's see who we've got on the stream here with us this afternoon, and we will welcome them in. I see some turkeys cruising around where they are. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing well. You are in an area where it's not as windy as some other spots. Why don't you tell us your name and where you are?
I am Laura Schumack, and we are in, I guess that would be called Beulah Heights or Beulah Valley, right before Beulah, Colorado.
Yeah, sure.
So
Go ahead.
It's been snowing off and on, but nothing major. And
Okay.
the wind's not bad at all.
Wow, you guys are dodging a bullet. I tell you, are these turkeys around your place usually?
Yes.
Do you feed them?
Turkeys and deers. Yeah, we do. They're too much
Okay.
fun not to.
I know, turkeys
You
are
were
great,
at my
aren't they?
son's fire department, I think. You went there for a class
Oh, a
at one of the
couple
fire
weeks ago?
departments in Fountain. Yeah.
Yes, awesome. And what was his name?
His name was Phil Thorne.
Well, I really appreciate him, being on alert today, obviously, for, some different things that might be going on. I am impressed that your wind isn't too bad right there. There's kicking up a little bit.
A little bit, not bad.
Yeah. What would you say the strongest wind gusts you've seen is, if you had to estimate?
These right now. Last night we had some pretty bad ones, but last night, yeah. Today hasn't been as bad.
Okay, well, like I said, I'm kind of surprised given where you are, but hey, you'll take it, right? I'm sure a couple miles down the road is a different perspective, for sure. That's usually how it works.
Yeah, definitely. We're kind of in a little valley, so maybe that's why we're not getting it as bad.
Right.
I don't know.
Just bouncing right off the top of you. Well, thank you for sharing. Thanks for sharing the turkeys with us. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Okay.
Matt. We love you.
Thanks. Have a good day. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You too.
Oh man, turkeys are so fun like that to see. So if you want to join like she did, I tell you what, that's useful information for me to find out. They're in the valley that she isn't getting that, because man, the rest of us are like, oh my gosh, I mean, what is happening out there? This strong wind certainly expected. We've been talking about this for the last few days here, and it is associated with wind behind a cold front that moved through earlier this morning. And some of you kind of had some wind and some snow like she talked about there. I had a little bit at my place for sure. And it wasn't much. Let me show you what that looked like here on radar. We talked about that as well. This is TAMCO live Doppler radar, and you can see this little batch of stuff come off the hills and then die out. And that's because we have that downslope. And so we aren't going to see moisture of significance here east of the mountains. But what one of the big issues has been today, my friends, unfortunately, as the wind kicked up south of Pueblo around Stem Beach, that's like the first big exit that you come to when you're driving south of Pueblo, or as you're kind of dropping down into the Arkansas Valley, you head past Stem Beach before you get to the wind plant and everything. A huge car accident that unfortunately killed 4 people as the wind dropped the visibility in that area. And that is a tragedy, no doubt about that. And so it saddens me to bring you that news today if you haven't seen that as of yet. Strongest gust that I have been able to find as I've been poking around has been 77 miles per hour. And here's the other end of the weather spectrum. Snow says, I'm near Beulah also. The other lady, Laura, was in Beulah Valley. Wind blew over my 80-pound dog this morning. So again, just depends where you are. Told her down the road it was probably a little bit different, and that certainly was the case. Let's talk about what to expect here for the rest of the afternoon. And unfortunately, it's more wind. So if we look at Pueblo West here over the next couple of hours, our sustained wind really doesn't change much until the sun starts to go down. And it'll still probably stay a little bit gusty for a few hours after that. But in terms of noticeable improvement, it's going to take until that happens. And you see the same thing here in Aguilar with the sustained wind kind of staying out of the west between 20 and 30 miles per hour and gusts higher than that. Let me show you a computer model here for parts of the southeastern plains where we've seen some really strong wind here through the morning into the afternoon. So I'm going to kind of focus along and south of Highway 50 here. And this is where we are right now. I'll take you through the next couple of hours, and you can see that the wind doesn't really change too much here between now and 3:30. And this will go for areas farther to the north as well. So it's kind of status quo through the balance of the afternoon. And then we'll get into tonight and we'll start to pull the numbers back some. So after the sun goes down, the strongest gusts begin to relax. That's probably the best news that I can tell you, right? I don't know if you're like I am, but I don't like the wind. It kind of puts me on edge. I think a lot of people are in that boat. And so that obviously is an issue for people. And we've seen some things out there. Letitia says it's very windy, or verified windy. Hey, we're verifying the forecast with you, Letitia. Wolf Ranch on the northeast side of Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs right now does have that strongest wind gust that I can find. And frankly, I'm a little bit surprised that we've been on the high end of things. John says, okay, enough of the wind. Blew my happy butt over in Pueblo. It was comical to see, and I weigh more than that doggy. Thanks for the laugh, Patricia. I needed that. Ashley says hello from Canyon City. Ashley, let me know how strong your wind has been. In fact, we'll just check it out here. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about this is we can do that. So let me pull up the weather computer here. Canyon, we're sustained out of the west at 28 miles per hour, and we've had gusts obviously higher than that. We'll just take a little bit of a camera tour here. We'll check the wind across the area. It's out of the west at 28. The Air Force Academy. Castle Rock today, cameras bouncing around. The weather station only measuring 5 miles per hour, and obviously that's not working. Pueblo here, you can see winds out of the west at 24. It is hard to escape it. 37 mile an hour sustained wind in Walsenburg, and you can see that we're bouncing that camera around. That camera over the last 2 days, I think, has been knocked around back toward the pole there. So that happens sometimes in Colorado. It's kind of fun to keep the equipment sort of working. In Trinidad, winds sustained right now out of the west at 35. You can see all of the sun that is out there. And if I show you, let's look at the satellite and radar here from a wide view, and then we'll bring it in a little bit closer to home. But you can see here that we've got this jet streak off to the south of us. And see how the nose of that thing is just off to our southeast? It's the nose of that where you get all of this air kind of spreading out vertically. And this kink in the flow here is the downslope that we're getting. So you see that kind of right here along the Front Range. That's a little bit of a indication that we do have vertical motion in the atmosphere and what is helping to accelerate some of that wind down to the surface. This is the front that moved through earlier today. This is the stand-up Pacific cold front right here. And behind this, once it went through, man, it really opened the door for that wind to move down the slopes of the Rockies and out across the plains. Yeah, that's been the big issue. And as that happened, it picked up that wind and caused that dust that produced those fatalities, unfortunately, south of Pueblo here earlier today, like we talked about when we first came on the air here. So you can see that we had this real little window, and I've been talking about this over the last couple of days, that burst of snow that moved through the mountains this morning, and right as the front went through, we had a little window of some moisture along the Front Range. It wasn't much. And it didn't last very long and fell apart off to the east like we thought would be the case. And that certainly has been the situation here through the day today. My friends, if you are somewhere in southern Colorado and you want to give a report, please join me. We heard from Laura earlier. She put in vmix.at/small z, small m, large S. That's a small J there and then a big K. You can use either of those links, put it into your web browser on your phone, and you can go outside, show me what's happening where you are. Or you can do it on a desktop as well. If you went out to lunch at work, you're back from work now, and you have an experience to share, I would love to hear from you. That's what this is all about here. So the wind gusts today have just been something else once that front has moved through. Humidity is down low as well. And that's one of the reasons we have the red flag warning in effect today. And thankfully, I haven't had any reports of fire as of yet. But 15% humidity is kind of a magical threshold. And when you're down below 15%, fires seem to, it's like a trigger for fires that if you get one to go, they expand more rapidly if the humidity is 15%. And so that's where we are down there today. Compared to the warmth that we had yesterday, we are quite a bit chillier out there today. Even though our temperatures, my forecast is for above average temps, when you compare it to this time yesterday, it is colder. In fact, let me show you where the temperatures are right now across eastern Colorado, and compared to yesterday, how we're running about 5 to 20 degrees colder than 24 hours ago. Behind the cold front, we are below 50 now in the Springs. We're sitting at 60 in Pueblo. We still have mid-60s out over the eastern plains, and it's those mid-60s that have the humidity still sitting up into the 20% range out across the plains here. So, it is a day where I'm hoping over the next several hours we don't get any words about fire. Let's see what's happening up in the high country, because as you know, we've been talking about the heavy snow on the way to Colorado's high country. And it was start you off in Breckenridge here, where isn't that a sight to behold? A lot of people up there for the middle part of the week. Maybe some people playing hooky today. Let's look at Copper Mountain. We're getting some snow there. Crested Butte, we have been getting some snow through the day today. It's not as heavy as it was earlier today when the front was coming through and we were getting the bigger bursts of snow. But it's coming down pretty good in Keystone right now. That looks like a nasty day, because we are getting the wind up there as well. And check this out. Aspen's getting a little break right now, and the sun is actually peeking through. I guess I should show you all those things I was just talking about. So there is a look at Aspen right now. Let me talk about the snow here over the next couple of days, because our state is being split in two, and it depends on what side of the mountains you're on. If you're on the what we call the windward side, where the air is being pushed up the mountains, we're going to keep getting some of that snow through tonight into tomorrow. And then the downslope side, where the cities are, and of course the eastern plains, feeling the effects of the drying and the fire weather that we have across the region. Checking the Rampart Range right now in Colorado Springs. These are some sensors that aren't at the same quality necessarily as some of the Weather Service sensors, like as an example, that Pine Creek sensor, it's not 9 miles per hour there, but we are measuring 51 in Rockrimmon and Falcon Estates right now. And so there is some variation out there, which is usual, right? If you go outside, like the wind gusts kind of ebb and flow, but it certainly has been high. And again, here in the last little bit, we've had a 68 mile per hour gust at the Colorado Springs Airport. So, you know, the wind has worked out as expected. But here is some good news if you want some improvement in the conditions. Check out what happens to Woodland Park here as we move into tonight. We pull the wind back some. Now we're going to be behind the cold front tonight, and so the temperatures are going to drop more than last night when it was pretty mild out there ahead of the cold front. Here's a couple other stories that you guys are sharing with me here. Let's see, we've got what were a couple things? Here's one. The wind in Pueblo on the north side, Billie Jean says, is crazy. Keeps popping my garage door open. And then somebody having a little bit of fun with it. This is John. He says, it's so windy in Colorado. Does that mean Kansas sucks like the Chiefs? Hey, I get what you're saying there. And I hear you. And yes is the answer to your question, of course. Yeah. Let's see. There was one other thing. Patricia says, could there have been a microburst to cause that huge brownout that caused the fatal accident on I-25? You know, that is a possibility. Let's go back. Let's investigate that. And we'll just do this kind of in real time together. Because there were some convective elements in there earlier today when the front was dropping off of the hills, Patricia. And so we'll fire up TAMCO Live Doppler radar and we'll take it back to about, here, let me put this up for you so you can just see me work through this in real time together. Let me customize what I want here. So let's go back to, let's say 9:30 a.m. And we'll put 11 a.m. so we have a little bit of time to work with here so that we can kind of watch the morphology of this. And then I am going to slow this loop down so we can see what happens here very slowly. So you see the front coming off the hills, and Stem Beach, let me circle that for those of you that aren't familiar, is about right in here. And you can see here, see how the radar kind of loses some intensity of the reflectivity as it moves through there? That is a collapsing of an updraft. And let me go ahead and let me see, watch this again, see what time, 10 o'clock. Let's do 10 just as a starting point. So let me put this back in here. This is kind of cool that we can hang out and do this together. Okay. So I'm going to save this in case I lose it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put velocity on here. And so now we're going to zoom in a little bit closer. So you can see here, there is a thin line out ahead of this. If I loop this, let me change my window here on the time. Let's go back to 9:30. And let's put 1045 on here. And now let's loop this. So this is the front that you see moving through there. See that thin line? That's kind of up to the north here. Let me see that. That's heading east of Ordway right there toward the end. That's the front. Now, there may have been some additional acceleration behind the front, but we'll go back to that 15 time frame and we'll query some data and we'll see what we can find from the radar here and just investigate this together. This is what I think is fun about being able to do this with you, is we can just kind of check this out together. Now, my hunch is the strongest wind was a little bit kind of before that, because if I query down here, it's not all that strong, about picking up 19 to 20 miles per hour. But you have to consider here that we're a little bit above the ground surface. But let's see if we can find when that thin line came through, what the wind speed might have been like. So let me go back to 9:15 just in case. And then I'll manually stair step this through. Right in there, that looks like some pretty kind of messy data. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that I'm seeing on there that's screaming it, but you certainly do see that front moving through. But that's like an hour before the accident occurred, which was a little bit before 10:30 from what I saw. So, I mean, there may have been some convective enhancement there to, to answer your question, for sure. Let's see. John put something in here. I'm going to look at what this is, and maybe I'll share that with you. So some of this isn't going to be as produced as if I've set up a show, ahead of time. But yeah, man, some of the imagery, he shared with me some imagery from that crash. Not good news down in that way, no doubt about that. If I widen the view here on the radar and I go to, let's say, the last 2 hours, you can see the flow close to the radar there moving due from west to east. And that's just showing the flow behind that cold front that came through earlier today. So, I mean, just obviously it was enough wind to kick up the dust in that area and cause that big problem. Certainly not good news. I find that I feel awful when that kind of thing happens. I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to expect people not to go out in it, and we certainly don't have the ability to say, hey, at 10:30 on I-25, the dust is going to pick up and bring the visibility down. We certainly talked about some blowing dust and some of the impacts from this over the last few days due to this jet streak that you see here coming across the desert Southwest into Colorado today, driving the cold front through. There's more systems on the way here through the rest of the week. You see them kind of lined up, moving through Colorado, and that's going to keep us active here. We've got fire weather concerns through the rest of today for sure. And then as we get into tomorrow, I think we're going to have more to deal with. Today, by far, is the windiest day. By far. So not only do we have a red flag warning today until after the sun goes down, but we've had this high wind warning as well. And a high wind warning is for wind over the plains to exceed 58 miles per hour. We call that a severe gust. And we've certainly seen that today with gusts in the last hour to 68 miles per hour in Colorado Springs. So I just wanted to come on and give a little bit of a kind of update for you here. And it's kind of, on a day where there's a lot happening weather-wise, that's a fun thing to do. So if you have any questions here in the next little bit, Becky is in Monument, and says that her Amish porch swing blew right off the porch. And I mean, you guys have been like everybody else here. If I go back to this Rampart Range, I think I've got, I mean, you guys are gusting, looks like 35, 40 right now. Probably has been at least around 50, maybe a little bit higher than that if you've had a porch move like that. It'll take me some time to go kind of grab all of the peak wind reports here and synthesize for you later today. In Costilla County, let me put this, we did get a report of at 9 o'clock of a whole 2x4 frame garage got destroyed and carried it 200 feet. I mean, that's pretty impressive as well. So let me put this into Google Maps and I'll give you a better location on that. So there's been, you know, multiple outbuildings that have had some problems out there today. Thankfully, we don't have reports of fires as of yet. So the shed issue was kind of off to the northwest of Cuchara, off to the west of La Vida here, kind of by Forbes Park, if you know where that is, in that area, kind of off to the north of Harrison Peak a little bit. So, you know, we have had some minor damage reports. I think the lead story or the big story here, unfortunately, is that accident south of Pueblo. And some of the photos from that, if you go find them, are, I mean, it was just a mess, my friends. It was a mess. So I'll leave you with this. Obviously, no big improvement here on the wind front until we get the sun to go down later on today. But at last check, you know, close to 60 miles per hour over parts of the plains. We're getting some mountain areas where the wind gusts are up. Colorado Springs, we've been seeing it as well. So do your part in making sure that everybody stays safe, of course. That is something that we can all do together. And if you see any smoke or anything, make sure you let the authorities know, for sure. No doubt about that. Let's see. Maryland also had the porch swing blow over. So hopefully they're not broke. I mean, if they just blew over and you put them back up and you move them, everything here is okay. So we've got a fire report east of Calhan now. So let's see if Amber, let me know where you saw that. I'm going to see if on the satellite here, I'm going to put up visible satellite and see if we see anything. Hold on a moment. I'm going to do a couple little things here. See if okay. So there are a couple tools that we can use to investigate fire. One of them is visible satellite. And there's some clouds moving through that area right now, so that's going to impede that ability a little bit. But there's also some fire detection tools that are on the satellites. So let me use that here. And let me pull that up. Okay. Go to the satellite data here. I don't have the ability to show this in my weather system. I sure wish I did. I've made that request before. But we're trying to investigate here together if we can see about a fire north of Callahan. Okay. All right, let's see. Fire detection. All right. Okay. This system looks for heat from GOES and is actually a really good tool that they use to spot fires. Let me see if Amber answered my question there on that. This is we just get to hang out. This is real-time stuff. Trying to determine. I don't see anything as of yet that shows me that that is happening. Okay, County Road 169 and Highway 24. So east of Matheson. Okay, so some of you guys are hearing this on. All right, so let's zoom in out here. So east of Matheson here in Elbert County. So this is a very, very open area here between Highway 24 and Highway 86 that kind of meet to the west of Lyman here is where 86 joins Interstate 70. Some pretty big branches are out in that area. This fire would be moving in this direction, given the wind flow. County Road 169 at Highway 24 is what Alicia says. So here's her report. Bring that up. So Amber, whoops, looks like I lost my connection to that. Let me fire these back up so you guys can help me here. Yes, let me start this again. That was one of our big concerns today, that fire would maybe be an issue. I don't like that at all. Not a good day for that. Okay, so let me turn this back on. Turn this on. Okay. Alicia, where are you getting? Are you listening to the fire scans? Let me know about that. I'm going to see if I can pull that up on my end. So let's talk about what's happening out here. I can use I have some really, really high resolution terrain stuff here in my weather system. And it's good for situations like this because we can, in detail, come in here and see what's happening. So I'm going to put this in, and we're going to take the satellite off, and we're going to go out here. All right. So spreading east is certainly what this fire is going to continue to do. There's no doubt about that. And what do we want to use to investigate out here? All right, I'm just going to do this in real time. Take all this stuff off. All right, give me a moment, crew. We'll zoom in. Okay, we're going to turn all these things off. Man, wind gusts 70 miles per hour. You know, the firefighters responding to this, obviously are going to keep their safety in biggest, concern. They're not going to do something that is dangerous for the firefighter safety. But okay, now let me put my high resolution enhanced earth on here. And now we'll zoom in. Okay, here we go. We're in business. Thanks for the patience. Okay. So you see Matheson here, and you see, let me pull up the highway. There's Highway 24. And we're at County Road 169. Look where that is. All right. So obviously if you're in this area and there is smoke coming toward you, it means the fire is west of you and you should take some precautions. Okay. Where's 169? County 169 and Highway 24. See what Google Maps says. I'm finding that. But let me see if I can find it. So we've got the first kind of main road going north, east of Matheson, is Rasolis Road, so that's about right before this bend in Highway 24. And so if I zoom in on that, that's Rasolis Road that you see right there. So here's Matheson. Then we get just east of there, we've got this Rasolis Road that heads to the north. And then there's County Road 181. And Alicia Natali says it's at County Road 169. I see a 189, which is a little bit farther to the east here, which is one of these roads heading off to the southwest here. So between Matheson and Lyman is where we have this fire. So obviously not sure here. It's early, right? But the fire is going to be blowing to the east. If it is already on the east side of Highway 24, those of you in that area, and it looks like there are some agricultural fields in that area, you should be taking precautions. There actually are 2 confirmed fires in that area. And the SoCo Wildland team, I'm getting some word here, has an engine that is heading that way. So obviously multiple crews responding in that area. So, this is not great news, obviously, given the weather situations that we have here. If somebody is out in this area and you are safe and you would like to join and give us a view from out there, here's how you can do so. You can put those right into your browser and you can come on the show here. I am going to quickly make a social media post about this fire. That's one of the hard things about doing the live and doing this is I've got to multitask, but we're just hanging out here. So, if you have questions, you can put that into the thing. We'll talk about it. If you got stuff to do, that's fine too. Okay. All right, so. And then I'm going to label this, get this on social media here. All right. Crew just get to hang out. I don't know if this is entertaining or exciting or what, but I'm just hanging out and working, so we might as well do this together. Whoops. And there we go. Whoops. I'm going to relabel this because that's not correct. Okay. And take this off. Actually, let me take this off here. Put this in. Okay. All right. All right, put this on social media here. Just hang out. Let me do this. I'm going to turn my, well, I'll keep my microphone on. All right. Okay, this is what we didn't want to happen, my friends. Not what we wanted to happen today. Okay. All right. If you know anyone out in that area, I'm sure that they are aware, because everybody in rural areas takes care of each other and are helping each other and making sure that their neighbors are okay. So, this is not great news here. And it looks like somebody is trying to join me perhaps on the line here. Let's see, I'm going to save this. All right. Okay, someone was trying to hop on, and I see some movement happening. So if I see them, we'll talk to them and see what's happening. But I can't pull it up when it's just a kind of a wide sort of shot there. So it looks like it's Lynn who is joining. So Lynn, if you can, I don't know where you are, if you're having cell signal problems or something, but if you'd like to be on and help us out here, when I see something on your camera, I'll go ahead and pull you up. While we are doing that, we'll go ahead and talk about the situation out here, and I'm going to put some wind gusts for the Palmer Divide up on the map for you, and we'll see what is happening here over the next several hours. So let me change my clock, and we'll do the next 6 hours. All right, crew, this is not a great situation. This is not what we wanted today. Okay. All right, so this is from a computer model here, but it's in the ballpark of what is happening. So, I didn't save that at all. Nice. Not nice. Okay, let's get to our correct time here early this afternoon. There we are. And as we move over the next several hours, we're going to keep these gusts about the same as what we have right now. And then we will eventually see them decrease. So let's look at the next 6 hours here. And we'll take you into the future a few hours down the road. And you can see as we hit the later part of the afternoon, the sun angle's getting lower. And we start to see a little bit of improvement there. But we're still having wind that is going to cause an issue for a wildfire. It's still out of the west, so the fire is going to burn due to the east. If it's crossed Highway 24 already, that's going to cause some issues. And you guys are helping me listen right now, so I'm taking your word for some of this stuff. But let me put this up here from Yolani. I hope that's how you say it. She says the fire's about 3 miles wide. I don't doubt that the fire has grown rapidly in any way here today. As we've been talking about for the last several days, this is critical fire weather. So this is no good. So, okay. Alicia, who's been helping me with some info here, pull this fire graphic back up, says that it's about 5 miles east of Matheson on Highway 24, and so we can measure that. Again, we're going to approximate here. So I put that in about the right spot. So it is those roads. It's probably 189. That was all I can find on Google Maps. I couldn't find a 169. I find a 189 that is about in that area. No, here's a 169. Okay, I found it. Okay. Highway 169 heads south. I was looking in the wrong direction. Highway 169, County Road 169 is about right there where I have that arrow. And it heads south just past the bend in Highway 24. So the fire start is probably somewhere in here and going that way. So I'm not sure if it's north of Highway 24, south of Highway 24, but it is between Matheson and Lyman. And my concern here is that there are some people in this area. Let me get this, take this off here. Take this off if I'm gonna zoom in. So usually when you see some pasture like this out here, it's a real beautiful drive if you haven't been in this area. There are some homes you can see. So here's Highway 169. That is the first line going south past the bend in Highway 24. And you see a home there just to the south. But there's not a lot of structure out here between there and Lyman. So that's the good news. Looks like there are some here or there. I mean, there's a home, so a few. And you see places, you know, every little bit here and there, and that's obviously a concern. But the fire is up in this area that we see there. So, I mean, it could be in a worse place, I guess I'm saying. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on that. We do have crews responding. I do know the Southern Colorado Wildland Fire Team has a crew heading there. Isaac Brisk, who is on that team, I was out helping them a couple weeks ago do some training. He's part of that team, so he told me that they do have an engine heading out that way. If you want to join, I do have this link up here for you. Again, the wind is the concern today, obviously, if you've been outside at all. And that is what is fanning the flames. And we've got a rough few hours here before we see the gusts pull back. And so we start to see that as the sun gets lower in the horizon, and then certainly see some improvement after that goes down. So I'm going to do a little bit of investigative work here. If I have a big update, I will jump back on here. But this is kind of what Peaks to Plains weather is all about. So, I mean, I'll take the opportunity here to let you know that this is why, you know, encourage your neighbors to download this. Because this is our weather together. So we're kind of crowdsourcing the weather. We're doing this together. When we have active weather, we're going to keep each other safe from it. I'm going to use the radar out of Denver and see if I can see any smoke sort of signals, because radar will pick stuff up. It's probably dispersing really, really quick. But that is probably it right there, my friends. So let's loop this over the last hour. Oh yeah, that's the smoke plume, no doubt about that. So right there is the smoke plume. Now, we know that the fire started somewhere a little farther to the west, but this gives you an indication, perhaps, of how quickly it's moving, because see how the back edge of that has kind of shifted east a little bit? Oh yeah, and I don't know how we're not seeing that thing on satellite yet. But let me put, okay. All right, I'm gonna put this on social media as well. So yeah, there you go. And you can get the sense just from looking at that, man, how active that is. That fire has been certainly cranking, as you all let me know about, in what you were hearing. It's nice to be able to listen to some of the emergency response stuff. I'm going to loop this now, and then I'm going to, all right, loop this data 4 times. Get this ready to post on social media, so let me take a break here again. And I apologize for this, but okay. So this tells me that it's south of Highway 24 in those pastures that you saw, those fields that you saw. And there are some homes in there. So man, join me in praying that those folks are okay. All right, so now I need to take, all right. Okay, get this posted here. I have a couple places on social media that I need to put this stuff. Okay. All right, crew. Okay. All righty, my friends. Man, this I don't have a good feeling. It doesn't. Having gone through fires here, it really, I get on edge about these things. I can't imagine fire's just no good. And in particular, when on a day like today, it's moving toward you as fast as this may be moving toward people. It gives me a bad feeling. Let's check visible satellite again. At some point, we're probably going to be picking up this plume here. So let's zoom back in to this area, and that might be it now. Nope, that's still a cloud. See how this cloud moves in quick here? So we're kind of watching this area down in here. This is where we see the plume on radar. And so if you just look at this real quick, this is why you got to loop this stuff to see how it moves. That certainly is a cloud you see coming in from the west. But I would assume at some point, there might be a little bit of it right there. And that could be, let me look on something else that has the really highest resolution of this stuff. All right, let me zoom in on this. I do see a dust line out in Kansas. I'll show you that here in a second. Put the counties on here. And now let me loop this. Yeah, there is a little bit. You can see the smoke plume out here. Yeah. And that's as good as we're going to see it on this thing. Well, I'm looking at something else that has kind of the unedited, unfiltered graphics system satellite, and you certainly can see the smoke plume there. In eastern Alberta County. So we can see it on that tool as well, which gives us an indication when you can see the smoke plumes on visible satellite, gives us a sense of kind of how significant that sort of is. And in western Kansas here, let's see if we can see this on here. Yeah, you can. See this line right there? That is some dust that is blowing off to the east there. And that's kind of one of the lines of the differentiation of the strongest wind. So we see this thing on radar here. We see this thing on visible satellite. And both of those are an indication of how explosive this growth has likely been of this fire. So it's south of Lyman, about... Let me measure it here for you. South of Lyman, 9 miles or so. And moving to the east, and it is going to be burning into Lincoln County here toward Highway 71 pretty quick, given what the wind speeds are. So, you know, we continue to have some serious growth here of this fire. Man, this is just the one thing I didn't want to happen today. So if you guys have any questions, let me know, or if you're hearing anything else. So Letitia says, at some point we've been evacuated before and the fire came close. Not sure when or where that was, but I certainly feel you there. I was evacuated during Waldo. And Ronnie says, we've all been on fires and we get the edge, or we get why we're on edge. Yolani is praying for everybody. I thank you for doing that. I'm a man of faith, and I would agree with that. I think that is a really, really good thing to do. So I feel for these folks, man. So let's see if I can pull up some stations that are in that area. There are a couple out there. So you're going to see me do kind of some behind the scene, geeky stuff, if you will. Okay. Let's just pull this up. Let me save this as something else so I don't mess up my... Okay. All right, so let me see if I can zoom in to this area here, because there is a weather station up in this way that I want to try to grab. Couple maybe. There's a station that is listed as Rama, that it's not pulling up the wind gusts. There's another one that isn't reporting the wind gusts either. We've got one on I-70 that actually, let me zoom back out. Sorry, crew, when you're trying to do some of this stuff in real time here, you can imagine that it, okay. So this is not this current speed here. I'm trying to get this to, okay. So this is actually from this is the sensor that I picked. So this is the one just to the west of Lyman on Interstate 70. It's running 50 miles per hour. And one to the west of Matheson is 41 miles per hour. So that's back here. And then we've got one that's a little bit more north of there that doesn't look like it's talking reality to me. And then in the Pumpkin Center area at ahead of the fire, so 41 miles per hour. So you're getting the idea here as we query these different stations. Here's one from Hugo. Hugo's at 60. So we're between 40 and 60 miles per hour out here. And obviously that's fanning the flame of the fire. It is grass out here, though, as we were investigating earlier. So I'm going to get rid of that. And we'll go back to this, the radar here. You know, we were investigating the mapping out there, and that it's agricultural fields. Some of those are going to have dirt right now. Some of those may have like things like millet that they might be growing out there that maybe they left down in the ground or cut some off, harvested it. It's hard to know, but that is burning something because we do see a smoke plume out there this afternoon. So not a great situation, and we'll just keep hanging out here together if you don't mind. I mean, we might as well do this. Davey asked if there are any video or pictures of the fire. I certainly don't have any. But if someone does, you can send them through the Peaks to Plains app. And someone did send me something. Let me see what we got in here. All right, got a couple people sent me some of the locations of the fire. Thank you for doing that. Lynn and Russ did that. I appreciate that, both of you sending that to me. And then Jeff Petersma, who is with the Falcon Fire Department, he's measured a peak gust today of 45 miles per hour at Peyton Highway and Jones. And let me see if Falcon Fire is sending anybody to that fire. Let me go ahead and text him. See if he gets back to me. He might not be able to. Obviously, if he's driving there or something, I wouldn't expect him to text back. But one of the great things about the firefighting community is multiple agencies responding when people are in need, and that is certainly certainly the case out there today. So let me see if he has an opportunity to respond here. Again, you have the ability to join me. So in a situation like this, so I'm going to use today as an opportunity to talk about what Peaks to Plains weather is all about, right? So in this situation, let's say someone in Simla that might be watching could see the smoke plume. Like it'd be good to put one of these links up at the top into your browser, come on here and help us and show us the smoke plume. You would be west of the fire, you would be safe. And it might give us an idea of how, what this smoke plume looks like in person. I mean, I'm using the tools that I have here behind the scenes, you know, with my weather system to be able to look at that. And you know, in these systems, sometimes the data just kind of gets cleaned up too much. Let me turn the smoothing off and see if that helps. You can see it a little bit in here. If you kind of focus right here, as you see the loop move, see that? It's real subtle in there, but that's where the smoke plume is located. And that certainly tells us that, yeah, you know, this thing is growing. It's going to be growing due east. Pretty confident in that, given what the wind orientation is today. Yeah, I find myself thinking of all those people. Man, it's just no good. I mean, the humidity is low. Like, let's look at Lyman's. That's going to be a real, Lyman, it's 9%. And I talked about the last couple of days. Like 15% is sort of a kind of magic number for what we've observed and have researched for fire spread. If it gets below 15%, the fire just has more action than if it's above that. All right, I'm texting another firefighter that I know that does wildland stuff. See if we can get one of them to join. Okay, let's see, there might be multiple fires in different places. Okay, yeah, not what we wanted today. Let's see what the wind is in Lyman right now. Kiowa and Lyman, we're measuring 50. That matches with what we just sort of looked at from some of those other stations out there. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of between 40 and 60 out of the west. We see the smoke plume pushing off to the east there on the TAMCO live Doppler radar. We can see that. I mean, there is a smoke plume. It's even moving farther east from when I last pulled it up. I mean, if we loop over the last, let's do 2 hours. And get this stuff out of the way here. So I think this is sort of where the fire started, or at least we started seeing the smoke plume. But see how it's certainly kind of moving east now, at least the back edge of it where radar is starting to pick it up. Moving toward Highway 71 and toward Lincoln County. That's the gray line that you see there is Highway 71, and then the white line is the county line here. Like if I zoom in a little bit more. So there's Highway 71 and there's the county line. And you can see that we're picking up the smoke plume about, say compared to Highway 71, 5-ish miles to the west. You've got to give me wiggle room on this stuff because obviously I have limitations with some of these tools. you know, somewhere between 3 and 5 miles west, let's say, of Highway 71. And so thankfully this is, you know, not a metro area. That's good news. Couple Virga bombs out here perhaps. Might be getting a couple showers down south of Highway 50. Some of that's certainly evaporating. Okay. All right, hold on. I might see if all right. So hold on, I'm trying to get a firefighter on here with us. I think they're on their way out there. He says that he does see the plume. All right, they're going to get to a location, and he is going to. Let me see how long it might take him to get there. Okay. All right, so he is on his way to the Tri-County Fire Station. And Tri-County Fire Protection District covers Lincoln County, covers El Paso and Elbert County, and so that's in Rush. So he's heading south right now of that fire. They're heading out there to station maybe for some other fires, or we'll talk to him in a little bit and see what he says. But okay. All right, let me see. All right. So one of the things in a situation like this, I mean, it's like any, let's call it a breaking news situation, right? As people are responding, and especially when it's not in an area where there are a ton of people, it sometimes can be hard to get some information. I'm working on it here, and we're just doing this together. Let's see if I can pull up something else here. If you've got questions, let me know, and I'll answer them. Sean jumped in, and anything below 30%, of course, will sustain ignition. Yep, wind-driven fire, absolutely. And yeah, our winter has not been good. That's the part that got cut off there. He says, you know, humidity over the entire winter has been critically low. And that is an understatement for sure. That's why we were hoping we didn't see a fire today. But that's what we've got. Okay, my computer that does my streaming needs kicked here. Let me see if I can get that done. You know, it's good for me to do some of these live things too, because I see what some of the issues are that I need to work through as I build Peaks to Plains Weather Out. Let's let's see if we can tell how tall the plume is. It's probably not going to be very tall because of the wind, pushing it and keeping it low to the ground. But we can actually investigate this thing here in 3 dimensions. And let me take, yeah, that's seeing that really low to the ground. I mean, that's not seeing anything. It's getting some up to around 20,000 feet, it looks like. But let's look at some of the places that are in the plume here. Let's tilt this back up. Let's take the radar off. Let's get rid of this. So we're west of Highway 71, kind of zooming in, and see if I can put my high res one in here. All right, hold on a second. Let's see what we got if I zoom in here. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to use that one. Okay. All right. Radar, the way radar works is it will bounce off anything that's in the atmosphere. Smoke in this case, it'll bounce off bugs, it'll bounce off dust, and raindrops and snowflakes. And so you can use it, for multiple things. So obviously we've got these particulates in the air today. So here we're zooming in. This is going to take a second for this to load up. And we should be getting some high resolution imagery here in a second. Computer's trying to chunk a lot of data right now. Okay, so Falcon Fire not responding to that. There are lots of the resources from eastern El Paso County that are out there, and Falcon is positioned for local response needs, and that's kind of the balance, right? You can't send everybody because what if something new pops up? You have to keep people in place. So some of the there's one of the wildland crew, SoCo Wildland team, is heading to cover a station that some people responded from in eastern parts of the county. So they're scratching each other's backs, and that's what firefighters do and emergency responders do. It's triaging. It's making sure that if new emergencies pop up, you have the adequate resources to be able to respond to those. Let's see how far the plume has blown here. This is kind of interesting. So at least 50 miles, and I want to make sure that what I'm seeing out here a little bit farther is from the fire, and it certainly looks like it there. So if you trace it from the fire out that way, it looks like this stuff that's 100 miles away was kind of the leading edge when we first started picking up the plume on the radar, which makes sense given how quick the wind is moving, right? So there you go. Jennifer's asking, do we know if it's in a field or near any homes? Well, unfortunately, Jennifer, I think it's been through several fields. That's one of the issues, is the rate at which this fire is growing is very rapid. And if I go, I need a scene where I just do some mapping. That'd be worth building right now. Let's see. Maybe I'll just call this something else. All right, hold on, crew. Okay. So here's Simla, which is in Elbert County, beautiful town. You head out to Matheson. I've been to the Baptist church out there. A couple of my nieces got baptized out there. And then here's Highway 169, which is this first road that's kind of heading south of Highway 24, which is the yellow that you see there, just past that jog off to the northwest of the highway. So the initial reports were that it started at about Highway 160. Then somewhere in this area, you have to give me wiggle room here. And you can see there's a multitude of fields out in this area. So the fire's been moving somewhere in this direction. And then here's the county line, and there's Highway 71. So there are homes out here. There's a home. A little farther to the west is another farm. So there are things out here. Thankfully, not a lot of them, but there are some. So we certainly have people that we need to keep in our thoughts and prayers. Craig is on social media, Craig Paulson. And he's probably listening to, let me know, Craig, if you're getting this right now, that Elbert County Fire reports the eastern progress of the fire has been stopped. I don't know if there was a break that they made a long time ago that maybe it ran into and it stopped. That's certainly possible. Roads can act as brakes. It's tough to know, but certainly the weather situation really hasn't changed, and we still see an active smoke plume. So, we're still watching that and still certainly concerned about that. And look how far that plume has gotten out there. Some of this stuff. There's a wind farm out here, kind of right on the Colorado-Kansas line on I-70, that the radar's picking up. That's some of the stuff that you don't see moving there, but there is some smoke from the smoke plume that's moved all the way out to the east there. So pretty wild to see the smoke disperse that far on this windy afternoon. So it's 2:25 now, and wind has been certainly an issue. The wind speed in Colorado Springs, you're looking at the current gusts here, has pulled back from the 65 miles per hour. It's still 51 in Lyman, 48 in Kiowa, and 35 in Eads. But look how much it picks up south of there around Lamar and Springfield. So thankfully, there might have been a couple fire starts in this area or multiple reports of the same fire. So Craig, jump back in. Craig, thanks for doing this. I obviously can't listen to this and to listen to the things, so I'm just going to pull up what you are hearing here. He says, listening to their fire ops channel, the number of resources that they committed to the front might be the reason that it has stopped. And man, kudos to those firefighters and firewomen that are out there doing that. Can you imagine that, on a day when the wind is gusting that hard, having to be out in front of the fire? But that's what they sign up for. That's what they do. I was talking about this with some of the fire folks those couple weeks ago when I was out doing some of the weather training with them, and we were talking about instability in the atmosphere, how that can play a role in fire growth. Some of the signs to look for when the atmosphere moves from stable to unstable. There's usually a little switch that happens every day after the sun comes up. The atmosphere tends to mix up a little bit. Morning inversions break up and get a little bit more unstable. Humidity is low on a day like today, certainly not helping the firefighters. Last time I checked, the humidity for Lyman was at 9%, and that's still the case here early this afternoon. Let's check out some of the wind gusts a little bit farther west, just to look at some new data. The Air Force Academy up to 52 now. Some of these sensors that I have here are home sensors, so some of the data quality ends up not being, not research grade or anything like that, or as reliable as some of the stations that we get from the National Weather Service. But it shows you the variability, and you see some of them updating there. So, in some cases there are, about maybe 15 miles per hour is where somebody is right now. That might be, because they may be down in a creek or a low spot. I mean, this is a part of Colorado Springs where there's a lot of variation. The Air Force Academy airfield is open. There's not a lot west of there, so that's sort of a truer measurement of what may be happening. The Vista Grande neighborhood, depends. That could be, maybe there's a backyard that is a little more of an open area. And so that 32 that they're measuring, might also be kind of in a treed neighborhood, and so the gusts might actually be stronger than that. You never know. That's why you always have to sort of look at this in context and on a bigger scale when you're looking at this. See the Palmer Lake sensor updated to 15 miles per hour, but it's certainly, a day where we've seen gusts between 50 and 70, and we've been talking about that for the last couple of days. So here's Pueblo by the numbers, and this will tell a little bit of a story moving into tonight. See how there is a period later on where certainly after the sun goes down, the gusts pull back some, and in Pueblo, we don't even measure them overnight. I mean, we're sitting along the Arkansas River. There are going to be parts of southern Colorado where the wind is moving around more than that. You see what this, I think, is Woodland Park, is what I have set up in here. No, this is Lamar, where we see the wind gusts pull back tonight, but it stays a little bit breezier, let's say, than what we'll have in Pueblo. So this fire is something happening right now. We had a tragedy earlier today south of Pueblo around the Stem Beach exit, which if you're driving south of Pueblo, if you're just joining us, is the first sort of major exit that you come to before you kind of start climbing. And when the front was coming through, there was a dust storm in that area, and there were more than 30 vehicles that were involved in that, more than 20 people taken to the hospital, and 4 people lost their lives in that earlier today. So, we've had impacts, for sure, and tragic ones at that. And now we're dealing with this fire in Elbert County, nearing the Lincoln County line, but we may have had some heroic efforts from some of our local firefighters. And that's what they do. God bless those people. Thankful for them. They put themselves in harm's way to keep people safe. You can see this smoke plume out here. So the fire started off to the southeast of Matheson somewhere. I believe in this area right here. And you can see how it is blown off to the east, because we have almost due west wind out here. Whoops, I should put this on for you. Sorry about that. Kind of get into my analysis there and I forget to hit some other buttons. So the smoke plume has been somewhere between the vicinity of 75 and 100 miles long out there today. Right? You can see that last little bit there of what ends up kind of right where the 74 miles per hour is. You can trace that from the fire almost sort of at some of the early stuff when we started picking up the smoke plume. So I'm going to do a snapshot of that. I'm going to post that on social media here. So give me a second, make this post. So I'm typing that it has been growing in southern Elbert County. I am expecting one of the firefighters to join us in the next 10 minutes or so. And we'll hear from him and see what he knows. So I'm going to certainly hang on here through that time frame. So you are welcome to do that as well. Oops. Okay. All right. Man, if they've stopped that thing, that is incredible. It truly is. And look at the last couple frames here. Man, that's yeoman's work. Notice how the reflectivity is not as intense as it was about an hour ago. And so by that, like the intensity, notice how it's not as dark of green as it was earlier, which means that the radar is returning less energy to the radar site than it was an hour ago because there's less particulates for it to hit. So that can be a sign that the smoke plume is less active than it perhaps was earlier, which matches what Craig was telling us. This is funny. You have to have moments of levity during this stuff. Sounds like I'm typing over 100 words per minute. Well, I had some misspellings. I had to go back a few times. That's really funny, though. Thanks for that laugh. Okay. I'm a pretty fast typer, though. I'm not at 100 words a minute anymore, but yeah. Okay. Crew, I don't know. I'd be interested in some feedback right now while I'm waiting for the firefighter to call. I don't want to say this. I mean, this is what I built Peaks to Plains Weather for, right? Is to be able to do some sort of in-depth kind of analysis, and over my systems will improve here over the next few months. Each time I do one of these things, I make a big long list of how things that I need to fix here. Yolani's asking, how do I send you a picture? You can do a couple things. If you put it with your comment here, I should be able to show it on here. You can also, in the Peaks to Plains weather app, there's a send to Matt feature. If you post it in this live stream here, I can also grab it. Let me pull it up here so I can see it. Try one of those things, and okay, our firefighter has joined us. Let me get ready for him, and we'll see what he knows. So joining me now is Shane Coyne. He is the superintendent of the SoCo Wildland team. Shane, I'm going to show you what I've been looking at here on radar. Thanks for joining me here this afternoon. I've got radar up there of the plume from this fire that started off to the east of Matheson, and I'm measuring it about 75 miles or so now, which is a sign of how explosive the growth has been. No big surprise given the wind today. Where are you, and what do you know?
I don't know much other than what I've been following on watch duty. Probably 20 miles southwest of the column in Tri-County in the little area of Rush. So right on the county line of 94.
Okay, and you guys are responding out there with the SoCo Wildland team that you're with right now. You guys are backfilling a station for some folks that responded?
Yeah, it's been a crazy busy day from all kinds of calls from Pueblo up to here. So everybody's running a little bit short. So we came out here to, make sure everybody's good out here until they can get all their rigs back in service. So not everything's committed up to the fire by Matheson.
Right, okay. What is the wind doing where you are right now in Rush?
Oh, it's moving pretty good. I think the fire looks to be pushing south and east, and we're getting the general winds out here. I'm guessing 25, 35, depending on where you're at.
When you were driving out on Highway 94, I mean, you didn't have a lot of crosswind, but did you guys feel it pushing against the truck at all?
Yeah, and we're pretty heavy, and we still felt it. So it's definitely whatever we got this morning's definitely moved out, and we're in prime conditions right now for fire growth and spread.
Right. So Shane, if you have something to do, please let me know. And you guys have to get out and do something. But if you have a moment, tell us what. And obviously some of this is going to be just from your experience and not about this specific fire that we have had out there today. But what were some of the approaches that were probably being taken in responding to this fire?
Well, in these conditions, life safety is always the first priority. So once they were able to get that secured, then it's anchor, flank, and pitch, using roadways, heavy equipment, and getting people out of harm's way. And then looking for opportunities where the fuels and the weather allows to get some direct suppression on it and try to stop the forward spread. So that's probably what they're up to now. Looks like they're in pretty tough conditions.
So is the easiest way to fight moving dirt and clearing vegetation, from what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, in theory, with these kind of winds, sometimes full suppression and getting a line around it is not very realistic.
Right.
And I'm sure this one is jumping things and not holding tight in certain places. So I'm sure they're having all kinds of challenges to get this thing wrapped up at the moment.
From what you know and have been able to hear, do you have any idea about the number of firefighters that are on this thing?
I do not. I know we got a bunch from the eastern part of El Paso County and then Lincoln. And so there's a bunch of people up there. So we got a ton of real estate that we have to still cover. So
Right.
everybody's doing their part, whether they're on there, but I don't know how many
Right.
resources would be
Okay.
there.
And that's a normal thing of, right, like get as many people to it as quick as you can, and then you still have to make sure that should something new happen from a fire perspective or just any emergency situation, people have to be there to cover it. So that's why you guys are out there now.
Yeah, it's not uncommon to have multiple fire outbreaks on days like these from a
Right.
variety of situations. So, yep, that's what we're out here doing. We'll be out here as long as it takes until the scene settles down a little bit, whenever that is. Maybe you can tell me when
Well,
that is.
well, we've been talking about that before you got on here. I mean, I think for the next several hours, there's not a lot of change until we get toward, get the sun a little bit lower in the sky, and then computer models are pulling things back at least a little bit as we head into the early evening hours. And I know a little bit goes a long way in a situation like this. So, hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. Shane, thanks for taking some time today. I appreciate it. I know you guys are busy. When you get the opportunity, thank the crews for everybody, because, they continue to do some amazing work.
Yeah, you got it, Matt. Thanks for always having our back, and we'll get back at it.
Okay, thank you, Shane. God bless you
thank you.
guys. Stay safe out there today. So, him taking a minute to join me, certainly nice of him to do that. And they're helping their brothers and sisters out, stationed should something new happen, as the folks are out there still, fighting that fire. So. Man, it's this is something that I've hopefully we're going to get good news from this situation, since we had that awful news from outside of Pueblo earlier today. Letitia, thank you. This is what like I built this thing for when these things are happening. This is what it's all about, and saying it's so interesting. And yeah, this is kind of the behind the scenes stuff that we do here. Let me pull up. I doubt we're going to get a lot from the velocity in this plume, but let me pull that up and it's at least investigated here. Yeah, so you can query some of that data, and you kind of get some of the speeds, even though that's up off the ground level of what we're seeing from the stations that are measuring the weather or the wind speed out there today. Let me go ahead and put reflectivity back on here, and let's see. So radar is a three-dimensional product. It actually scans. You get multiple. Oh, this has some filters on it. You can see here, especially earlier. So see, we get to about 11:30 in the morning here. This is when some of those showers were dissipating. But see how the radar's picking up at 30, 40,000 feet. So what radar does is it sends a series of beams out, and it takes slices in the atmosphere and gets higher and higher, and it helps to give us a three-dimensional picture. Now, most of the time, we don't show you that because it gets confusing. To kind of stay oriented, to know sort of what you're looking at here. So most of the time what we're doing is we show you the lowest tilt or two. Especially when you're looking at precipitation, it is the best approximation to show you what's happening down at the surface. But the first time that this fire shows up on radar is about, looks like 12:15 or so. And let me go ahead and change this so you can see what I'm looking at. All right. So see that little speck there off to the southeast of Matheson at 12:15? That's where we get the first indication of the smoke plume. So this probably started somewhere between 12 and 12:15. And then you can see the plume. I mean, obviously it's, the reflectivity there is certainly stronger or higher. See that dark green? Than what we have had over the last, let's say 30 minutes to an hour in there. And that's good news, telling us that maybe they have been making a little bit of progress on that thing. But if I move this a little bit farther to the east and we track, this initial plume here at about 12:15, so watch with your eyes kind of where the front edge of this goes, out toward about Flagler there, and then toward Highway 59, Highway 57, and gets out toward Burlington and western Kansas. So the smoke plume with that thing is more than 100 miles long, which is pretty amazing to see. So Yolani, you need to hook up your email, which if you just downloaded the app, you need to hook your email up to be able to send a picture to me. Thanks for trying to do that. I appreciate that. Let's look at the visible satellite again. It's another tool that we can use to analyze the fire conditions. I should have saved that view, but I'm going to do the last 3 hours here. Okay. So this is last 3 hours. I'm going to run the visible satellite through. For reference, fire started down in here. And I'm going to turn the smoothing off so we just get the unadulterated data. And if you look like kind of through Hugo, kind of off to the east, your eyes will pick up the smoke plume there, kind of out towards Stratton and Burlington. If I zoom out, maybe it's a little bit more noticeable. Yeah, you can see it a little bit in there. Sort of right on this line. Not great, but it is there. And again, an indication that... Okay, Yolani, is your husband a firefighter? She says that her husband is out there and just called her with an update. So we'll see if... You can directly email it, Yolani, to share@peakstoplainsweather.com. So that's another share@peakstoplainsweather.com. And if you do that, I can get that into the system. Okay, I'm gonna drink. Oh, I got a headache. Probably because I'm drinking too much caffeine, my friends. All right, let's do a little bit of forecasting here while Yolani is working on that. Here's what happens overnight tonight. We will see the wind pull back. Not everywhere, but with time, these gusts will at least relax. So we're looking south of Highway 50 here. And you can see through sunset, we still keep them up, but then they start coming down. So that's good news. As we move through even later into the evening, you see that we still keep a couple gusts up against the hills where some of that brighter orange is, and we stay breezy. It's just not what we've had out here today. Up against the hills, may still be a little bit gusty at times overnight. And the rest of us will get some breezes. Let me show you how the humidity will recover overnight. So I'm going to put this to now and take this to 11 p.m. tonight. This is something else that will help firefighting efforts. So we're going to stay pretty low here east of the mountains while the wind is going, the sun is up, temperatures, still pretty warm. But then the sun goes down and the relative humidity is going to come up because the temperatures start falling. Not because the amount of moisture in the atmosphere necessarily changes much. And that's the relative part of humidity. It's relative to the temperature. Warm air can hold more moisture on a whole than colder air. And so that's one of the things that the relative humidity is sort of comparing. But see how the humidities get up into the 30s and even 40s eventually? I mean, that will help suppress fire behavior as well. But we're multiple hours away from that. By tomorrow morning, we're cooler than this morning because we are in a new air mass behind a cold front. We won't have breezes coming off the hills in as many places as strong as they were overnight. So a lot of areas kind of east of the mountain stayed in the 40s last night. We're not going to do that tonight. Oh, excuse me, my friends. And then tomorrow, let me go to skip ahead here. I'm still fighting an illness. We're still above average for the time of year, but not a huge difference tempo-wise from today. But what is a difference tomorrow is the wind speed. Because we're not going to have the gusts that we had today. We still have some concerns, right? Like through the overnight here, you'll see this, we stay breezy, but the speed comes down. Cool, I'm so sorry. But it picks back up tomorrow. Now this is a sustained wind, which is running about 15 miles per hour lower than today. And so the gusts are going to be lower than today. We'll still have some gusts up around 40, 45 miles per hour in some spots. So still critical fire weather concerns. And the Weather Service has, as a result, upgraded what was a fire weather watch for tomorrow to a red flag warning. And we've also got what looks like an extension maybe of the high wind warning. Let me query this and see. So yeah, this is a second high wind warning, so they've sort of extended it here. So there's one that will expire at 6 o'clock this evening. And then up against the hills here, let me take the fire weather stuff off. Yeah, so it's kind of confined to the hills. They have a high wind warning that they have going now through tomorrow from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. for the potential up against the hills to some gusts to perhaps 75 miles per hour in some isolated areas. So, not as bad as today, but still critical, still something to be aware of here. Julia's just tuning in. And says, I just tuned in, what fire? Good question. This is, obviously when people are coming in and out, it's a good reminder to me, who's been sitting here the whole time. So Julia, here's what we've been watching, and whoever else has joined as well. So about 12:15, a smoke plume became visible on TAMCO Live Doppler radar here off to the southeast of Matheson. Let me zoom in so you can get an idea where Matheson is. It's the next town northeast on Highway 24 east of Simla. And there's where the plume showed up. And it was in the vicinity of Road 169, which heads south of Highway 24 from the bend off to the northwest heading toward Lyman, east of Matheson. And so that line that you see there, or the green that you see, is the smoke plume that has been visible on radar here through the last several hours. And it's gone all the way into western Kansas. And a couple folks that were on the live stream here were listening to some of the fire radio and we have word from them that they've got some sort of line ahead of the thing. Now we still see smoke plume here. I mean, you don't instantly put the fire out, but perhaps they stopped the eastward advancement. Perhaps they slowed it. I mean, it's possible that, it may have jump lines they had, who knows? Okay. All right, so I want to thank Yolani for sending me this. Yolani, this is great. Her husband is in a water truck out there. I'm going to get a couple of these images over to my weather computer. And man, there's a lot of blowing dust out there as much as anything. My goodness sakes. Okay, let me pull these into the weather computer here. You're just going to see me do this in real time, which that is what it is, right? Okay. All right, so let me import these things. Yolani, if you would put in there what your husband's name is, if you're comfortable doing that. Let me get the other one in here. Okay. Oh, Yolani, this is so helpful to us. Thank you so much. Okay. So you see some of the agricultural fields there that we saw in my satellite mapping imagery. And you can see the smoke plume that we have been looking at here on the radar. So this is the Matheson fire. That's what I'm going to call it. I don't know if they have a name for it. So this is in eastern Elbert County. And I'm going to grab this right here. Okay. Her husband's out there in a water truck. Not eastern Elbert County. There we go. All right. And so you can see a couple things there. I mean, you can see that fire plume is staying close to the ground for the most part because of the strong wind that we have out there. But you'll get this burst of fire when it burns some new fuel or it burns hotter all of a sudden and there's some vertical lift to it. And, he's out there. I'm not sure if her husband is refueling fire trucks, which is very, very possible. But thanks for the work that he is doing, and his name is Jack Swainpole. So hopefully I said that right. I'm going to type it in here. Swainpole. Swainpole. Oops. Let's get that up to the front. See all the stuff I have to do behind the scenes before I show you things, like when I'm doing weather segments. And doing it live with you is kind of fun. Okay. Let me post this on social media now. Those are great. I know she apologized, said he was driving. I'm so grateful. Kidding me? All right, let me put these out here. All right. Swanee pole. You're laughing at me. Okay. Let everybody do it together. Swanee pole. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if I did that right. So I'm just typing here that the smoke plume's been less intense. Okay, got to put hashtags on there so people can find it. Excuse me, my friends. Oh gosh, still fighting this. Okay, Yolanda, thank you so much for doing that. I'm very grateful. I appreciate it. It helps people understand what's happening out there. Okay. All right. She's still laughing at me. Swanepoel. There we go. Thank you, Yolanda. Okay. Crew, I'm going to take a little bit of a break here and try to get my head wrapped around a couple things. And thank you for being part of this. I'm interested in your feedback. A reminder to you that this is what this is about when we have active weather across the area. I mean, we're going to be covering severe thunderstorms this summer. Today, we're covering a wildfire. We're covering what was that tragic dust storm south of Pueblo on Interstate 25 that took 4 people's lives. And there's people in the hospital right now. Keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Some 20 people were taken to the hospital from what I saw. And we still have this smoke plume out here, moving across Lincoln County, Kit Carson County. And, that kind of matches, when we were talking to Shane Coyne from the SoCo Wildland team, he said from his vantage point in Rush, where he could see the plume, that it looked like the fire might be moving to the southeast. And if we zoom in here, that makes sense a little bit. So that it's nice to hear the ground truth kind of matching what we're seeing. So I'm going to put, okay, so we see some plume here. And remember, radar's up in the air here, so I'm just making a little bit of approximation. That's probably not the right place to put that. Okay, so some of the latest plume is here. So, it's moved to this east-southeast a little bit, even though the wind out there is kind of to the west, or from west to east. So, fascinating stuff. Fire behavior to me is something that is certainly not my area of expertise, but pretty wild to see there. I don't see any other plumes, thankfully. Not all of this that you're seeing out here is making it down to the ground. I mean, we're live streaming. We might as well do some weather, additional weather. So we're going to look at the traffic cams in Canyon City, and we're going to look at one in Salida, okay? Because we're seeing some radar echo. Now, one of the things that you've got to know is that tools have limitations, right? And so we'll see if all of that is making it down to the ground. I'm certain that not all of it is, and wouldn't be shocked if not much of it is at all. So here's Canyon City, where that road doesn't look wet to me. Let me check Salida here. I need to build a traffic camera from Salida, so I'm just going to have to look at this behind the scenes. You're going to have to take my word for it. I have a list of things to do. I mean, I can't get it all done at once, but I keep building things out behind the scenes. So in Salida right now, yeah, the roads are not wet. So a lot of that radar echo that you see, I'm looking at Vanderveer Road, which is on the east side of Salida. A lot of this radar echo not making it down to the ground that we were just looking at there. And that's okay. I mean, that's, one of the things that you have to understand, the tool you're working with here has limitations. I mean, you get back towards Salida in the radar beam. Oh, I'm going to make an approximation here. Probably 8,000 feet or so off of the ground. Maybe a little bit more than that. But it does show us that, we still have some large scale lift that is moving through the area here today. So, improvements on the way over the next few hours for the firefighters, but they still have several hours of work to go. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers. We haven't had any word that any homes have been destroyed or anything. So, there are some out there that we looked at together, but we'll hope that, everything out there has just been burning grass and burning field. So I'm going to take a short break. I have some updates to do to the website, to the 24-hour channel. If you haven't downloaded the Peaks to Plains weather app yet, I encourage you to do so. It is very useful on a day like this. Earlier this morning, as we were seeing what ended up being the quick little round of showers move through, I did a push alert to Teller County, to the Canyon City area, that was coming. And that's kind of what this is about. If we had a severe thunderstorm warning that was dropping some hail, I can alert you and say, hey, I'm about to hop on live and we're going to cover this together. So, we can work on that together. My friends, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I am on every morning live at 6:30 on all of the Peaks to Plains weather platforms. And we hang out together. Like I've said a couple times today, if you want to join, you can do so. I have these links that are set up every day. Shane Coyne joined me today. We talked to someone in Beulah Valley to start this off. Her name was Laura. And then we kind of found out about the fire in real time together. So I appreciate you joining me today. If something else happens, I'll pop back on. I'm in here monitoring the situation. So you've been watching Peaks to Plains weather.